All right, look, what do when you are someone who lives in a tiny gray apartment and you want color and you want sass, but you're a renter and you can't paint? Grab your toolbox, grab a drink, and sit down because today we're tackling a brand new design drama. You guys hear the dog barking? He also hates gray apartments. What's up, you guys? I'm Katie. This is Laugh Cry DIY, and today we are doing a new episode of Design Drama in which I virtually make over a subscriber's space to help them solve big design challenges. And today we are helping my lovely subscriber, Stephanie, who has a common problem. She has this small gray living room, and she's trying to figure out how to infuse her style into a smaller space. She has a coffee table where she and her roommate eat meals. She has this colorful rug, which she says she thinks is too small for the space. She has a DIY faux fireplace and a computer desk that she uses to work. And she said she also has some blue curtains that are, quote, pretty sad. She said she wants to add color and natural textures. She likes rattan and cane and woods, maybe a feature wall on that back wall. Her style is like boho, cottage, and farmhouse, but with color, which is a little bit more unusual, but something I love. She loves teal and pinks and blues, and she already has this light teal door, which I also love. But she's not a maximalist and she doesn't like too much visual clutter. Now, she did send some really gorgeous inspo photos that kind of capture that like boho farmhouse cottage feel, again, but with that colorful vibe. I love these color palettes. I think they're so pretty, especially kind of soft and muted. And obviously these images are gorgeous, but I also want to talk about why these inspiration images are so pretty. When you guys are sourcing inspiration for your rooms on Pinterest or things like that, you always have to notice they all have extra high ceilings. And especially with this style, they're all very like light-filled rooms. They have super high ceilings. They're also all painted or like color drenched. And that's not something we can do. So obviously these are stunning, but how do you translate this vibe, this essence into a tiny gray apartment with one window? It can be tricky. So overall, here are our goals today. We want to lighten and brighten since we don't have a ton of windows. We want to bring in color. We want to add more texture. We want to avoid visual clutter. And again, we want to make it renter friendly. So let's start by wiping this slate clean. And let me introduce you to the color palette we're going to use. Because she already has this light teal door, we are going to do this light teal shade. We're going to also add in 2 shades of pink and a little pop of yellow to keep things colorful but soft and romantic. One thing I liked about a lot of her images is that they're like bright and pretty, but they're also kind of like lived in and a little bit romantic or like charming. So maybe we can bring in some of those vibes too. One thing I noticed in almost all her images are that not only are there a lot of windows, but they are all paned windows. So they offer a lot of light, but they're also very charming. Now in this room, as you can see, we've only got one window and it ain't paned like that. So we're gonna start by adding that charm and character, and we're gonna do a very simple DIY. First, we're gonna ditch that blind, and you're gonna get some of this cool peel and stick trim on Amazon. And I will have these items linked below in the description, FYI. So you're gonna get this peel and stick trim, and you're gonna cut it, and you're gonna pane these windows, and boom, you're gonna get a little instant charm and character. But that's still only one window, and that's so sad. And because this room is small, we want it to feel bigger. And Stephanie had even mentioned maybe doing some sort of feature on that back wall. So we're gonna do a little bit of a crazy optical illusion. We're gonna fake a second window with a similarly paned mirror. Now you can buy a pre-paned mirror that actually looks even a little lived in, a little bit farmhouse, a little bit shabby chic cottage. Or you can thrift a mirror and do the same trim, or you could even get dollar store mirrors that already have a little like trim around them, and you could just use command strips and like stick all those to the wall as though they were a paned mirror. Either way, I think Stephanie should mirror the exact size of the other window so that there's some nice little symmetry there. FYI, this is always a great trick to do, especially if you can place the mirror opposite a window. I did that in a studio apartment and it like doubled the size of the room instantly. So putting a mirror here will expand the room, bring in more light. It'll give us some nice little visual symmetry to play off of. And it gives us more of a canvas to play with because we're gonna do something crazy and we're gonna treat this like a window and we're gonna add drapes, boom, to both sides. What? I know, it's crazy. I saw an example of doing this on apartment therapy like a year ago, and I have never recovered from seeing it. It's such a genius trick. Now, because we already have that light teal door, we're gonna go with these matching drapes to give us more swaths of colors when we can't paint. I also chose these velvet drapes with pom-poms because they're a little bit more luxe and more boho with that trim. It adds more texture. You could also do a linen fabric if you wanted to be a little bit more casual. And you could do brass or wood curtain rods depending on what you're vibing with. Now, if you wanted to get even more color in there, you could add more curtains on both sides of the like windows. And I've talked in other videos about how curtains are such a great tool for renters because they can help you like color your walls without actually painting. So we have these curtains, but we are not done with curtains. We're gonna add another little nod to cottage style, and we're gonna actually put in these blush pink lace curtains. Lace curtains are not something we see very often anymore, but they are super sheer and pretty, and they add extra texture. And I just love this nice little like contrast, this little hint of blush pink. I think it's so pretty. Now, obviously we just made a bold move with those curtains and windows, but the next thing we're gonna do is a very, very, very small thing that can make a really big impact. So if we recall, Stephanie has this large sofa. It does take up space in the room, but she does want to keep it. And I like it. I like that it's tufted. I think that adds nice texture. But one thing we're gonna do is swap the legs. The current legs are kind of like modern and dark and simple. We're gonna swap them for this lighter wood and this more kind of antique feeling leg. And that little light wood just helps brighten things just a little bit. So when you're designing a room, the real goal is to like add visual interest, and little details like this can actually make a big difference. And especially because she already has this tufted sofa, which feels more traditional, I think those legs match perfectly. And now that we have that traditional, we're gonna mix in a little bit more boho with this beautiful light pink blush Persian rug. If you look up close, it actually has variations of pink and blue in it, which add more visual interest. As Stephanie pointed out, she had a colorful rug that was too small. So we're gonna do a super scaled rug so that all of the furniture can fit on it. So when you're sizing rugs, your goal is really to have all of your furniture fitting on it, or at least the front part of the feet of the furniture all sitting on it. Now let's start adding in some furniture. You may remember that Stephanie had a rectangular black coffee table before. And here's the thing, in this room, we have nothing but squares, squares on squares on squares, fireplace, sofa, desk. So we wanna move some energy around the space. So I'm gonna suggest swapping that for this round rattan coffee table. It lightens the space because of the color. It has beautiful texture with this gorgeous boho rattan. And if you'll notice, it adds more airiness and lightness to the room because the sides are open. When you have a small space and you're stuffing in a lot of furniture that's kind of clunky and heavy, it's gonna make it feel really crowded. So bringing in a piece of furniture that you can like actually see through brings in more airiness and lightness. And while we're talking about lightness and airiness, I'm gonna make another small renter-friendly tweak that is maybe more unexpected. And that is to the fan. If you look above, she has a fan that has dark ceiling blades. And fans are not easy to change out, but there is a tweak you can make to make your fans kind of disappear more into the ceiling, and that is actually contact papering the blades a lighter color. I did this in a previous makeover to help the fan kind of disappear into the ceiling. Pretty easy to do, and I would suggest Stephanie do this with this cool cane contact paper, which is peel and stick. From afar, no one can tell, who cares? It's like 10 bucks, super easy. And as you can see, boom, it helps that fan disappear. Now I know that it's still silver, and maybe she can convince her landlord to let her spray paint it white. But at the very least, we will try to eliminate those dark fan blades up in the sky. Next, we're gonna continue to add texture and lightness with actual lights. She has the overhead fan light, but we're also gonna add in these two beautiful little wicker woven sconces. I absolutely adore these. These are West Elm. They're plug-in renter-friendly sconces. I love them because they have the woven wicker material with that little cute scalloped edge. I also like that they have a little bit of that brass, so you're kind of mixing more materials in, again, for more contrast and interest. Now, could you also kind of DIY sconces like this similarly by like thrifting baskets and putting little puck lights in them on remote controls? Yes, you totally could. And if you didn't even want to use the plug-in portion of this, you could literally cut off the cord and just put in a rechargeable bulb that's renter friendly. Again, I'll also have these kind of items linked below. But sconces are so helpful to add texture and interest to a room and functional lighting. And also just FYI guys, the formula for lighting in a room is like overhead light, mid light, and then little low lights. Now I could have actually gone with a different texture or style of lamp, and you could do totally more farmhouse with like a metallic or something like that. But Stephanie had asked specifically to incorporate more natural elements, and I'm sorry, I just fell in love with them, and now you guys have to fall in love with them too. Okay, thanks. Now, because we did bring in a lot of this light rattan and wicker, we actually now want to layer in some darker wood tones to kind of mix it up. So I'm going to add this cute tray to the coffee table, and we're going to add this little wicker and wood storage basket tucked in the corner. I noticed previously she had an open basket on the floor next to the sofa, and because it's open by default, you just see more of that visual clutter. So we want to clean that up while introducing those elements and making it a little bit more functional. Now, if you wanted to lean even more rustic, you could actually do like a tree stump as that little kind of side table, or you could also do something more glam and do like a sleek marble or something like that. Just saying, think of ways to mix up like textures or finishes in this space. I'm also gonna add another little subtle detail that I also think is important, and that is these little wood bead curtain tiebacks. These are the types of like little details that you layer into a room that you don't really notice, but they actually do add a vibe in. You can have a lot of fun with curtain tiebacks. There's so many different versions. You can get like kind of like corded tassels. You could do these more neutral like boho beads. There's some that mount on the wall that are made of like wood or beautiful brass figurines. So you can really play and like infuse whatever vibe you want. And now it's time to add more zhuzh to the place with more textiles. So we're gonna throw in a variety of pillows in our color palette. Now, in Stephanie's inspiration photos, there were light patterns, but it wasn't a bunch of crazy clashing patterns. So I went kind of minimal with these patterns here, but I did really mix in the various tones of pink because I think they just play so well. And we're gonna add in more soft texture with a luxurious little fur throw on that sofa as well. I swear, no matter what your style is, unless you're like a brutal minimalist, throw a sheepskin or a fur anywhere and it's like instant cozy. Now we've been bringing in more of these colors, but I still want a little oomph, a little So I'm gonna also pitch something crazy, and that is because you mentioned you have a DIY faux fireplace, which I'm guessing is maybe a plug-in electric one or something like that. Let's go ahead and paint that pink as well. I chose this mid-tone to, again, make it like stand out a little bit more. And I'm sorry if it's too much, but you know what? It's my channel. And I'm sorry, I still can't restrain myself. So we are also gonna add in these little pops of yellow as well. This might be too much for you, and that's okay. I just think it's such a cheery color and it plays so well with the color palette that I had to do it, so sue me. Now we're getting close here, and we have leaned pretty hard into kind of the more boho style. So I wanna bring in something kind of farmhouse and do something a little bit more rustic. And I noticed that you have this computer desk, but it has really open sides, and that lets you, like from the side, you can see more visual clutter underneath the desk, like the little footstool and cords and things like that. So I'm gonna pitch you swapping that out for something that is a darker wood and something that has sides, this kind of like waterfall style desk. You could do something even more rustic. You could also thrift a super like cute cottagey piece of furniture and like distress it, whatever you want, but I think it should have sides. Now, realistically, I'm not gonna make you swap out your office chair, but I am gonna suggest maybe just painting the base white or gold. And of course, the best way to zhuzh up any office chair is to throw a fur on it. Throw a fur on it, throw a fur on it. Now I also noticed that you and your roommate don't have a like true proper drop station for when you walk in. So I am giving you this simple shelf for like mails and keys and things like that. And of course we need to add a little more life to the space. So let's add some plants and flowers all the way around. Things like especially like macrame hanging planters, very boho, very pretty. Oh, and one last thing. I noticed that tucked into the corner, you have a cute little dog bed. And we love animals, but we also know that like pet furniture and accessories aren't always the cutest. So I would also recommend recovering that dog bed in something that fits a little bit more of the color or pattern vibe you're going for. It's also smart to do because you can make that a removable cover that you can then wash and throw back on super easy. And there you have it, guys. Here is your before and after of your romantic cottage boho farmhouse dream. So I hope this gave everybody some new ideas, some fresh inspiration, some cool ways of looking at things, especially if you're limited in what you can kind of do in your space. It's not that serious. You can play, you can experiment, you can mess up, you can try new things. But most importantly, I think you should make your space a place that you freaking love, and that's what matters most. So if you're interested in more renter-friendly or just decor ideas, I will link a few videos below. I also have a monthly newsletter where I send out DIY tips and inspiration and fun things like that. You can sign up for that below as well. I also love when you guys send me pictures of your space, your DIYs, things you're proud of. I'm a big creeper and I love to see it. So until next time, just throw a fur on it. Okay, bye.